October 1962. The world stood closer to destruction than ever before. Just one wrong decision, one misunderstanding, or one missile launched by mistake could have triggered a full-scale nuclear war. The United States and the Soviet Union, the world's two superpowers, stood face to face, armed with thousands of nuclear weapons. Millions of people went about their daily lives. But no one knew that within minutes, the map of the world could have changed forever. History remembers those terrifying days as the Cuban Missile Crisis. Just 13 days when humanity stood on the very edge of nuclear catastrophe. But how did one small island bring the entire world to the brink of war? And how was humanity saved at the very last moment? Let's go back to October 1962 and uncover the story of the 13 days that nearly changed the course of history. It all began after World War II. The world was divided between two superpowers. On one side, the United States. On the other, the Soviet Union. Both nations were determined to expand their global influence. This rivalry became known as the Cold War. It wasn't a direct war. Instead, it was a silent battle of power, technology, intelligence, and nuclear weapons. Each side feared that the other might strike first, and that fear sparked an unprecedented nuclear arms race. Then, in 1959, everything changed in Cuba. Led by Fidel Castro, the Cuban Revolution was successful. Soon after, Cuba began moving closer to the Soviet Union. For the United States, this was deeply alarming because Cuba was only about 150 kilometers from the coast of Florida. At the same time, the United States had already deployed nuclear missiles in Turkey, close to the Soviet border. Moscow saw those missiles as a direct threat to its national security. So, Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev made a bold and risky decision. Secretly, the Soviet Union began deploying nuclear missiles to Cuba. The goal was to restore the balance of power, but the operation would not remain a secret for long. Then, on October 14, 1962, an American U-2 spy plane flew over Cuba. It was just another reconnaissance mission. But the photographs captured something that shocked the White House. The images clearly revealed that the Soviet Union was secretly building nuclear missile sites inside Cuba. Those missiles could strike Washington, New York, and many other major American cities within minutes. The intelligence was immediately delivered to President John F. Kennedy inside the White House. An emergency meeting was called. The question was, what should America do next? Some advisors demanded an immediate airstrike. Others called for a full-scale invasion of Cuba. But Kennedy knew that one wrong decision could trigger World War III. Instead, he chose a different path. The United States announced a naval blockade around Cuba. Its mission was simple: to stop any more Soviet weapons from reaching the island. Then, the entire world held its breath. Soviet cargo ships continued toward Cuba. American warships stood ready to intercept them. One mistake, one gunshot, or one misunderstood order could have started a nuclear war. Across the world, families began storing food. Many believed these could be their final days. But, behind closed doors, secret negotiations were already underway. Finally, Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev sent a message. He agreed to remove the Soviet missiles from Cuba. In return, the United States promised not to invade the island. Later, in a secret agreement, America also removed some of its nuclear missiles from Turkey. After 13 long days, the crisis finally came to an end. But the lesson has never been forgotten. For the first time in human history, the world had come face to face with the terrifying possibility of nuclear annihilation. The Cuban Missile Crisis reminds us that power is important, but self-restraint is even more important, because sometimes the greatest victory is not winning a war, but preventing one. And perhaps that is why those 13 days in October 1962 are still remembered as the closest the world has ever come to nuclear war.